Back here in the den, we even got a guest this time. I'm Jay Burr. There it is, right there. You see it there. We've got our good friend here, Jeff Reed, at ASU Jeff Reed. Make sure you follow him on the Tweeter machine and all that good stuff. He's got plenty of good stuff. He's had a bunch of good stuff, especially this past week. It was a big day up there.
It's been a very busy week. Very busy week. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get into some of this this football stuff here in just a second. But first things first, let's blow through this basketball weekend because tough scene out here.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty spirited game in a lot of
ways.
It
was, yeah.
Very good game. Kind of the turning point in the contest was probably when, with about 5 minutes left to go in the first half, A-State point guard Caleb Fields draws his second foul.
Yeah.
They pulled him to the bench to save him for the second half. At that time, it's a 1-point game.
Right.
And ULR builds up a 14-point, and then they hit a 3 at the buzzer that makes it an 11-point halftime lead.
Yeah.
And that's ASU came back, but Fields he's one of the best freshmen Arkansas State's had in years. And you look at the stats, he played about 30 minutes and 0 turnovers, and he handled.
Yeah, for a freshman.
ULR talked about how good their 1-3-1 zone was, and it did force turnovers. It didn't force them when he was in the game.
That's
right.
And
that's when they made their push, and they got the lead. And ASU swimming upstream the whole second half, and got there, got even, but never could quite get over the hump. So it was a tough game, but it's a lot of things off the court that happened. It's going to make the return trip to Jonesboro in a couple of weeks pretty feisty, or not pretty inviting.
I'll be interested to see just how some of that behind-the-scenes stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that supposedly went on. We won't get into all of it because, you know, a little hearsay and all that kind of good stuff. But man, that's what rivalries are for right there. And if all that stuff holds true, boy, that is just textbook definition of rivalry. Now, again, this has been one of those seasons, and I kind of said it last week that, and this kind of applies to both the men's and the women's team, that they're kind of regressing to the mean. You know, I feel like statistically they were winning games they probably shouldn't have won, considering the stats that both are really putting up, but the men's team too, and then constantly just getting down double figures. You can't keep winning like that, and you kind of mentioned the freshman is sort of leading the way, and you expect some things like this.
There, usually you can get a pretty good indication if you can look at statistics and know what to look for. They had some really good comebacks.
They have
at Colorado State and at Tulsa, and got some good wins, and had a couple on the home floor too. So it's been a good year. The team has made progress. There's a pretty darn good core there for next season. Going forward, and I think the program is headed in a better direction. They scheduled better, more home games, and not on the road as often. So all those things really made a big difference.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see sort of going forward here. And I think this was the year that I think a lot of people maybe didn't necessarily want to see big wins. I mean, obviously you always want to see that, but there's marked improvement with this team.
There is, and if you look at the conference, it looks like ULR is going to win the thing.
Yeah, they're already, I think, 3 games up.
But from about 1 through 8 or 9, you could see, you go to the tournament, you could see anybody winning that thing. I mean,
it's wide open.
I really think that it's going to be a wide open contest down there, and a lot of things, like ASU is probably the 7th or 8th, the 6th seed right now, and they went to Little Rock and lose by 3. I mean, and I think South Alabama is really a good team that just has not put it together this year. That they may have a good week and win the thing. So they're one to keep an eye on. I think Georgia State's really good also. Yeah,
the Georgia schools are really good. Obviously, Little Rock, they play some nasty defense, but to me they're very chameleon-like. They can adapt really well to the style of play.
Little Rock is they're so big out front. I mean, they put those 6'9", 6'10" guys out there, and they spread their arms out, and they can cover a lot of floor. And if you don't know what you're doing to attack them and you're not ready, then they're going to cause turnovers, and you're going to have a lot of issues, a whole lot of issues.
Yeah, the tournament is going to be real fun down there, because I'm with you. I think this thing is wide open as it's been in a couple of years, because for the longest time it's been, basically we're just waiting for Georgia State, and if they get upset.
And Lafayette had a couple of good years there, but yeah, you're right. I do think it's somewhat of of an open. Now the big advantage is if you can finish in the top 2, you're automatically seeded into the semifinals.
Yeah.
And if you finish third or fourth, you're seeded into the quarterfinals. Of course, the first few rounds are played on the home floor, so that makes a big difference. And just the Final Four will go to New Orleans, which I think is probably a better setup for that environment in New Orleans, which is really, the attendance has been horrendous.
Pretty trash.
And it's a city that's got so much going on that they don't even know that you're there.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, it's.
Well, especially being out there, I think it's more towards Metairie, and it's not even in the core of New Orleans. So
it's out at UNO, and it's not even within the downtown area.
Exactly.
Of course, now this year they're playing at the arena, which is downtown,
that'll
for
be
the
neat.
Final Four, which creates some more New Orleans type atmosphere. I mean, it's kind of like if you go to Florida at the beach and you stay up on I-10 30 miles away from.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, we went to Florida
We're
on
at
vacation.
the beach.
Yeah. And we drove down there a couple of times. It's just not the same. But when you're down, because if you want to experience New Orleans, you got to be in the downtown area.
Absolutely. There's nothing like downtown New Orleans here. Throw the standings back up there for me, guys, just real quick. Let's just kind of mow through these. Obviously, Little Rock leading the way there. You see that. I mean, big-time lead. You got the Georgias right behind them, 8-4. But these are a couple of teams that would really cause some problems. Texas State, kind of in the mix, too. I think these are old ones here, so forgive us here. But, everybody's kind of still in that little core area there. And there's not really a lot of separation once you get past Little Rock. They got a 3-game lead, and then everybody else is just kind of there. And you see some of the stuff there. Arkansas State's, like I said, kind of regressed there. USA's been a little bit of a head-scratcher. Coastal Carolina can light teams up, so don't let the 6 and 8 fool you. Same thing with Arlington. They're playing a lot better.
Arlington's pretty decent. No, Lafayette's come back a little bit. They were down a little bit. But I just, like I said, I think there are 6, 7, 8 teams that have a chance, and what you really want is to be playing well when that time of the season comes. You know, you build some momentum up going into it, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're feeling good, you got your confidence, and then you can get in there and maybe make some noise.
Yeah, and if getting one of those top 4 spots, definitely where you want to be at the time. Let's switch gears to the women's side of things here. Excuse me, and this was a sort of the perfect storm of events that happened for the women. I had even said last week, 2-0 looks pretty good right now, and they went 0-2 on the road against the Georgias.
They're kind of a head scratcher. They really are. You know, they play at home and beat Coastal, which is the best team in the league.
Probably one of the best in the country.
And then they go to Monroe, which is the worst team in the league, and have to win on a last-second shot.
Yeah.
You know, and then they go to the Georgia schools, and they're kind of down, and you think, well, there's a chance for a couple of wins, and
then here we are.
What happened? You know, of course, that's, you better be ready to play every night, and I think there's a lot of transition going on there.
Yeah.
I know they've got a couple of players sitting out that they really think are difference makers, and they think next year will be a whole lot better team. So we'll see. I still think they'll make a little bit of noise in there, and they're a middle of the pack team right now, so that's probably better than what was expected.
I was going to say I think they've played better, even despite these 2 kind of head scratcher L's that they've had this past weekend. I still think this season has gone better than maybe what I thought heading into it.
Well, the thing about the non-conference was like, what in the world? You know, they had a couple of ugly losses in there, and then all of a sudden they got in conference, and the way the schedule's been, it's really favored Arkansas State because there were home games at the very beginning. You know, and on the backside you're going to be on the road a lot more, so you got to, you better be ready and see what happens then. But it's I think, if they finish 500 or middle of the pack, I think they'll be all right. You know, it's something to build on, and that's what Matt's wanting to do.
Absolutely, and again, kind of like we mentioned with the men's team, I think this has been a little bit of a regression to the mean, because statistically, they're not a great team, but they've figured out a way to scrap out some W's. And like you said, they knocked off Coastal Carolina, which, they've got almost 20 wins on the year already, which is pretty darn good. But, this team just, they confuse me, and they don't have a lot of size. And I think that's been a thing that's killed them for a long time.
You're right. And I think probably a little bit different transition, our style of play has taken effect. And, you're just, You've got players who were recruited by Brian Boyer, who had an outstanding career there, and Matt wants to do things a little bit different, and there's always some adjusting on the floor and off the floor. So you see.
But they played well, so you have to think going forward here. Once they kind of get some of those difference makers you're mentioning, maybe make some noise, get back into the heyday, like what 10 years ago.
I really think that there's potential there for that to be one of the elite programs in the in the conference. You have good facilities, you have a good school to recruit to, where you have a college environment, and then you have great support among the administration. So I think that it's got a very good chance that it'll come back.
Absolutely, here. All right, let's get to the standings here for the women's side of things. Troy just really running away with this thing. Well, I say running away, but Coastal Carolina's right there with them. And these standings are really starting to kind of separate a little differently than the men. You're kind of starting to sort of see the tiers break up into this one. Little Rock there at 8-3.
ULR, they've always, you always expect them to be there.
Absolutely. Even though the rough start, you kind of see the overall record, but once conference season started.
Troy has come on the last 2 or 3 years. And, and of course, they're both having really good years. I didn't realize Troy was 19-3, but they're also both doing very well.
And they snuck up on you. You see Arlington, South Alabama there, 7-4. Louisiana there, 6-5. ASU also at 6-5, and then things kind of drop off a little more dramatically. So you kind of got that top tier, you got a couple there in the middle, and then you sort of have everybody else. It's kind of what it's really starting to morph into, and then you got Texas State and ULM who are playing it out.
I think the A-State women are at home this week with the 2 Texas schools. Is that right?
I believe so. So
they've juggled the schedule a little bit, and I don't know exactly. I know they don't play double headers anymore.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about the scheduling at large here in this one.
A-State does not want doubleheaders. I mean, they sell their women's season tickets separately than they do their men's. So a doubleheader causes problems.
Absolutely.
For them, or you have to have like one of those day-night doubleheaders like you almost have in baseball. You play the women at 12, and then the guy comes in later, so you have time to clear out the arena and mainly clear out the parking lot, because that's usually the big issue. The parking that comes with the season ticket purchases.
All right, now we've actually got the Texas twosome for both teams. Men on the road, women are at home. So I guess it's kind of how do you see those breaking down for this next week? Ideally, you think splits for both of them, but
split for the men would be awesome. I think the women, they beat Coastal at home, so you got to wonder, hey,
who knows?
So maybe they could sweep, but you kind of thought they might sweep last week. So
so at this point,
who knows there?
Who really knows? But tougher challenge there with the men. Obviously, Arlington's been playing very well. They will score on you at will, and the Bobcats have always been a thorn in their side, and they play nasty defense down there.
That's a good program, a good team. So like I said, you just don't know. It's just the coach at Texas State's done a really good job.
Doing all right. All right. Let's wipe that from our memories here, that lousy basketball weekend. All right, let's get to football here. We are back at it here. Finally got through signing day. There was a big focus on defensive backs. We talked a lot about this last season, where some of it was injuries, things like that. So you kind of play the hand that you're dealt. But they really addressed the depth at that position this past year.
If you look what's happened since the end of the season, you've had a cornerback, even though he's coming off an ACL injury, you assume if everything goes well, he's your starter again. He transfers out. Another player removed because of an off-the-field issue, and then you have another guy who was just kicked off the team. So, and maybe your top 3 or 3 of your top 4 corners, all of a sudden they're gone.
Gone. So
replenishing that was a major thing that they had to do.
Absolutely.
And they've done, well, on paper it looks like a good job. The Ficklin kid that they got out of Mississippi Gulf Coast looks like really, really good player, long, rangy, what everything we're told, that if he'd have been a December graduate, the Power 5 schools were really wanting him. But they didn't want to wait for a May guy. ASU's situation is we need guys, so we'll wait till May.
Wait it out,
because a cornerback is one of those spots where there is not as much adjustment as there are, because a lot of times you can say, go get him and sick him, and stay with him. Whereas linebacker or safety, you have to depend on what other people do.
Sure.
But a corner, you can just say pretty much line up one-on-one and go get
Don't let him catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw the names up there for me, guys. We kind of got this broken down by position now. Your defensive backs, they signed 8 of them out of here. And then we got them sorted here by state for you guys. So you got Antoine Fegans, Javar Strong, Anthony Switzer, one of the hometown kids. You always like to see that kind of thing here.
Yeah. Now, Anthony is what they call a blue shirt. So he played last season.
Yeah.
And had a promising freshman year. He's out of Marion. Really, they're really encouraged and think he could be a really good player the next 3 years. The Alabama kids, Javar Strong is a long, rangy safety.
I was excited about him.
From up at Muscle Shoals. And Antoine Fegans is from Oxford, Alabama. Now, he's got 2 younger brothers.
Ooh.
His high school team won the state championship, and he and his 2 brothers were the secondary.
Oh, boy.
He's a senior, one was a junior, and one's a sophomore. Arkansas State has offered all 3 of them.
Let's get this going, man. Let's get a full Fegans backfield.
The youngest one, and I've talked to the dad and mom, they kind of like to have all 3 kids at the same school because it makes it a lot easier. I think they'll get the second one. The third one, that may be a battle because he's going to have, he's already got P5 offers. Ooh. I mean, he as a sophomore. But if you got big brothers in Jonesboro, that might help your case a little bit wrong. Tajay Herring-Wilson is a grad transfer from UConn, and Kenneth Harris is a player from, I can't remember the school, but it's about 30 minutes south of Monroe, Louisiana, in Winsboro, Louisiana.
Caldwell Parish.
Caldwell Parish.
Yeah.
Kind of a guy that was low-key. He actually signed in December, but
Oh.
they did not announce it until signing day. He wanted to wait and have a ceremony at school.
Ah.
The December signing day, if you want to have a ceremony, that's Christmas break.
Yeah, depending on how the calendar falls.
Nobody is there, so he said, I want to sign, but I want to have a ceremony. So, so he was been in the fold. They just didn't let anybody know, and and he didn't either. So he got to have a ceremony down there. But he's a cornerback that they're real high on. Travion Thompson's another long, rangy safety out of Georgia. Booker Finland is the player we've referred to earlier from Mississippi Gulf Coast. He's also from Brandon, Mississippi, which gave Arkansas State Demario Davis.
Yeah.
And then Talon Doss is a young man that they really did sneak in. He's already enrolled. He was not even really on the radar. I mean, it's hard to find information on him, but he's out of Shannon, Mississippi.
Yeah.
He's about 5'11", 185, and can run. Coach Desmond Lindsay is on the staff. As one of the assistants told me, he said he knows everybody in Mississippi, and he thinks the smaller schools over there have good players that are really overlooked. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that's not what happens in the next year or 2. I think going an emphasis on Mississippi is smart. It's a border state.
Yeah.
Arkansas State's in East Arkansas. It's not that far away.
It's really not, yeah, 45 minutes-ish.
Well, there's some places in Mississippi that are closer to Jonesboro than communities in Arkansas.
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up in South Arkansas. I was 4.5 hours away, so I know what that's like.
All right, so moving on to linebacker, another big emphasis there. Signed 5 of them. Excuse me, this past maybe you can help me out with some of the names. Obviously, Noah Smith, big old boy there.
These are your offensive line. These are not your linebackers.
Oh, the OL, yeah.
So but we can talk about them while they're here if you want to.
Since we got them up here, there we go.
Noah's 6'8".
Some big dudes right here.
Locust Creek or something like that, Alabama. Kadeem Dioff.
Locust Fork.
Locust Fork.
Yeah, there you
go. Noah's 6'8". He's a blue shirt that'll be coming in August. Kadeem Dioff's a big, good-looking kid, has really good feet, kind of plays with a little nastiness. He's from College of the Canyons, California. The coach there is played for Blake Anderson in New Mexico.
Oh.
Kyle Kelly is a big kid out of Kansas. I mean, all these offensive linemen are 6'5", 6'6",
oh, they're
6'7"
huge.
type. Kyle got late offers from K-State, and I mean, they're right down the road, and he stuck with ASU.
Yeah.
Austin Woods is out of the Tulsa area, a good baseball player. And then Jarrett Horse from Wisconsin and played at Ellsworth Community College. He was actually in Jonesboro this past season, started at right tackle and earned third-team all-conference honors. So that's a pretty good recruit when you already got one that's all-conference.
Exactly, when it pays forward like that. But it's been I guess more emphasis on the bigger kind of dudes.
Yeah, they want the bigger, longer, rangy guys.
Yeah.
You know, they want and they like to have them with long arms because now you can reach out, and grab them. and they're wider. It just makes it longer. Anything to buy the quarterback a little bit more time
Exactly.
when you're rushing against these guys. So yeah, and a lot of these guys are like long, lean-looking guys. There's not much belly on these fellas.
No, they're big dudes.
They're
but
290, 300, 310, and they don't, they're well put together.
Have arms the size of my chest.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what's going on. All right, now let's get into linebackers. 4 of them. So I misread there. Obviously, our guy from Bryant there, Ahmad Adams, C.J. Harris, and then a couple more of the Mississippi boys.
Yeah, now Ahmad played fullback mainly for Bryant.
Yeah, he was fullback, running back type.
2-time state champions, and he is. Now they haven't ruled out the possibility of him playing fullback, but they really like him as a middle linebacker. The way he moves and his build.
He's got some shifty feet for a big fella.
Yeah, and I could see maybe he's a linebacker, and he might be a short yardage back. I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
If he's really good at linebacker, you don't really want to risk your fullback, because if he's that key on defense. C.J. Harris is an interesting young guy out of Savannah, Georgia. He's had some seizure issues, and kind of a little bit of a interesting thing about him. He takes some type of THC pills or something like that that had him. He was going to be a preferred walk-on at Auburn, and when that news got out, they backed away, and some schools backed away. So he almost came to Jonesboro in August. A very talented guy. He went to prep school one year. Almost came to Jonesboro in August, but decided to go give a shot at community college, and that happened, and he came back, and he's already enrolled. I mean, he's a very smart young man, and he actually appreciates ASU actually doing the research on his issue. Everything's cleared. He's been seizure-free for like 3 years now.
All right.
He's very athletic, and he's a guy that they are very, very, very high on. Fred Hervey, Mississippi JUCO linebacker. He's from that North Mississippi area, not too far from Jonesboro, can really run, 2-time all-conference. And Izzy Whitmore is another one of those small schools. I think he's from Choctaw County. Interesting guy that weighs about 220 pounds, but he long jumps about 22 feet, and throws a shot about 50 feet, and high jump 6'2". So there's some indicators there that there's some explosion in those legs.
That boy weighs 220, and he's out here high jumping. That's
6'2".
wild.
6'2". I mean, it's not like he's at 5'6". We got one of our receivers high jump 6'2" that weighs about 180, and you realize,
wow,
that's a horse right there.
So that'll be real interesting to see them kind of going forward here. D-line only got 3 of them here. You have another Q Lee. Which is I'm personally excited about, and I know Arkansas State fans are really pumped about, but they're also really pumped about this Corbett Mims kid. Yeah,
Corbett's one of the most coveted players who's probably ever come to Jonesboro. He had a lot of P5 offers.
Boy, he had an offer sheet.
I mean, and 3 or 4 SEC schools early, had some academic issues. He's now met his test score. ASU stuck with him. And after he had his test score, North Carolina State and Indiana both came in and offered him and wanted him for visits. But he and his mom have been to Jonesboro. I think they were almost at every Saturday home game.
I was about to say, I saw him a lot there on Twitter and stuff.
And I think mom, over in Memphis, kind of likes him having him close to home.
A little closer,
So it makes things easier for them. So he's a 6'5" kid, tremendous motor, very high. Vidal Scott's interior defensive lineman whose career actually started at UCA. He's from Pensacola, left there, went back and played 1 year at junior college, and Arkansas State signed him early. And Quentin Lee is a outside guy from northeastern Oklahoma A&M, and if he has a good a career as the last Q Lee at A-State,
he'll be all right.
Then everybody will be pleased.
Absolutely here. And also kind of a side note here on Mims, he turned into a fairly big recruiter himself, or at least a big rah-rah guy.
He's been very involved. He really has.
He really has.
And he's bringing guys in and stuff like that. He's a nice guy. I was actually, they had him at a combine a year ago, or 2 years ago in August or something like that, and I was there the day he got his offer. And Coach Early, who's now at Brian Early, who's now at Houston, and Coach Joyner were there with him, and I was actually saw them out on the field, and he's all fired up and excited when he got that offer. I think it was his first offer, and honestly, people always say they like to be in the first. This is a situation where the first offer really, really, really meant something to this kid.
Paid off, yeah.
Because a lot of these guys, and I feel so horrible because my inbox on my Twitter account is full of kids that just want a chance somewhere. And they want me to look at their film or pass it along, and you feel, okay, I'll do whatever I can, but I don't hand out scholarships. I'm sorry. So
for up to us, everybody's getting a scholarship.
But you know, when they get that first offer, then you know there's got to be a sense of relief, you know, and it meant a lot to him, and he stuck with it.
All right, so there you go. One quarterback. I know that's something that Blake Anderson tries to at least get one QB every class. Brett, now how do you say
Nezit.
it? Nezit. I think I was calling him Nezat or Nezot.
One thing about Brett, if he's the first guy off the bus, it's okay, because he's about 6'5".
He is the prototype.
he is a big dude. I mean, you think, well, heck, if he doesn't play quarterback, he might could be a tight end, or they could convert him to a tackle or something.
Type,
he is a big guy. Played at Saraland, Alabama, state championship as a junior. Really, really nice guy. Actually, early on had a Syracuse offer.
Wow.
But he's going to come to Jonesboro. Actually, excuse me, he's already there.
Yeah.
He enrolled at semester, and you know, they weren't really going to take a quarterback in this class because with Logan Bonner getting hurt, and then all of a sudden now he's got 2 more years.
Yeah.
They didn't think that they would really be able to get a quality guy because they're thinking, well, heck, I'm 3 years down the road from seeing the field.
Right.
But Brett decided, you know, it's okay with him. He knows the situation. He'll redshirt this year, and you know, and then be in the battle with Colton Clack and the others the rest of the time.
Yeah, and Lane Hatcher, boy, they have got a bevy of QBs up there. It'll be interesting
There's
to see.
probably nobody in the country that's got a quarterback situation like A-State.
It's a little different up there, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Of
And
course,
they've got
the
some
year Lane
slingers.
had, yes.
Yeah, and after that, boy, spring's going to be real fun to.
Which starts in 1 week. It's amazing because it's always been a late thing, but they've moved it up. So
yeah,
well,
they're knocking it out.
Yeah.
Get an indoor facility, man. You can have spring whenever you want
Well,
to.
you're right, and it's a wonderful facility.
Lincoln Pear, the running back in this class, he looks mighty something else. Let me tell you.
Now this is one of those weird pronunciations. It's Perry.
It's Perry. Yeah, that's right. I always
Perry.
forget about him too.
He's a fast guy and played at a high level over in Memphis at Houston High School over out in the Germantown area.
Yeah.
And some guy that kind of somewhat overlooked, but they are ecstatic about, and to help. They got a lot of running backs back next year, so
So they've got some depth.
Yeah.
And he'll definitely add to the mix as well. A couple of wide receivers. Leroy, is it DeShazer?
DeShazer.
And then Corey Rucker.
Yeah, Leroy is a guy that was a blue shirt last year, so he's practiced this entire season.
Yeah.
But he redshirted. Another guy from College of the
I was about to
Canyons
say,
out in California. Very solid guy, not real flashy. Catches the football. Now he's not a Omar Bayless type guy or a Kirk Merritt, but he catches the football when it's thrown to him. And he's a good-sized kid. His home is in Florida.
Yeah.
So he's back this part of the country. And then Corey Rucker is an outstanding athlete from Yazoo City, Mississippi. I almost want to say that in Jerry Clower's voice, if you know who Jerry Clower is.
Yeah.
But very athletic guy. They got onto him late. They had a kid out of Starkville, Mississippi, that was committed, and they thought they were going to get him, but Mississippi State, he was like Mississippi State's 6th or 7th choice. Well, he kind of turned out to be a choice for Mississippi State because they didn't get the other guys. So they went with Corey, and a little bit bigger than the other guy from Starkville. So he's another guy that's got tremendous upside.
Yeah, and if you're a wide receiver and you don't want to play in this system.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I mean, come on, guys.
They have one spot open right now, and odds are it's going to be a receiver. It could be a grad transfer.
Sure.
Or they're in a position where they got enough where they wouldn't mind taking a guy who's really good that might have to sit out a season. So they would go that route if they wanted to.
Got a couple guys on the radar right now, or what's the word on that?
Well, I think they're still
doing their due diligence.
They're searching. They're keeping their eye on that transfer portal.
Yeah, you always got to have your eye on the transfer portal.
I know there's a guy this is just speculation. I know there's a guy at Cincinnati who they are got their eyes on, and there's another one that I can't remember what school, but the coaches are following them on Twitter, so we'll see. You know, it's early.
Always got to be ready on the Twitter.
It's got to be. But they've saved the scholarship because they find the guy they want, they can bring him in on an official visit. A blue shirt is somebody you cannot bring in on an official visit. That's why most of the time their blue shirts are going to be local guys that can come in on unofficials. So they actually have a defensive lineman from from Tennessee, from Memphis, who is going to be a blue shirt, but he's been on campus. He was at a lot of games last year too. So you don't really, and you can OV those guys later. Yeah. But so they want to save this official visit so they can bring in a guy that you know, that maybe he's in Washington or he's in California or New England or something. You know, that's not exactly in the neighborhood of Arkansas.
Yeah, right. And then also too, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the kicker. I know a lot of people are always clamoring for a Scully kicker.
Now here's another guy who is not exactly from the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, Michigan there.
He's from Michigan. Tristan Matson actually played a little bit last year. Very erratic. Blake he's from a small town in Michigan, and Blake kind of mentioned that he's a. There are more people sitting in the stands than there are living in his town, and maybe it might have been a little bit of an adjustment there. So
I could imagine.
But he went to some camps over the holiday, and they're really encouraged by what they've heard. So we'll see what happens.
A little kicker controversy, can't go wrong with that. And that one almost supplants quarterback controversies, if you ask me. Everybody's always worried about the kicker.
That's what ASU's got now, because the two quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go.
You'll have two camps battling it out, you know. So, and I think we know which one the Central Arkansas camp will lead with.
Yeah, absolutely here. So I guess overall, a lot of good things in this class. If you look at a lot of the recruiting services, they're way up there in the Sun Belt, if not top dogs in the Sun Belt. I know on y'all's site 247 that this is one of their better finishes in terms of the recruiting rankings and all that they've had in a few years now.
And somebody's asked me, said, you guys got them ranked 4th. I said, well, you got 2 guys on there who aren't even rated. A lot of times you get so much value per player. Yeah. So if you have a full class of 25 and 25 guys are rated, you're going to accumulate more points. And I think right now we've only have like 18 or 19 guys who are counted for Arkansas State. So you got 2 guys there, and then you're going to add a JUCO. So if you look at the rating per player, it's one of the best in the league. I mean, it's a good rating. It's just there's not the, there's the volume. Sometimes blue shirts aren't counted, so like a Jarrett Horse is not counted in that. Yeah. But here's a guy that got 3rd team all conference as a sophomore.
Worked out okay.
So you would think that he's at least a 3-star, you know. So it's so much. You really need to look at that. And a lot of times, like some schools that have a really good class, they'll count 27 or 28 guys, but they're counting more people than what the others are, and that jacks their rating up.
So take it with a grain of salt a lot of times is what we try to say here. I mean, obviously,
look at the rating per player. Yeah, that's
probably a better indicator. And plus, you know, some of that stuff, you look ahead. I know ASU's gotten really good at the blue shirt thing.
Well, they have,
where they count
they
forward.
Actually have they've already got a commitment for a quarterback, Wyatt Belp, I think's his name, out of the San Antonio area. He's an 8.5 rating, which he's a solid 3-star. And I'm gonna tell you what, he is a talented young guy, and he committed early. And I've talked to him, and he is fired up. I think he'll might be the Corbett Mims of his class. He's going to start saying, come in with me, guys. Come in with me. He'll start recruiting them.
I'll be all right. Get some of that Texas bloodline there.
He's similar to Lane Hatcher, throws it a little better than Lane, and he's kind of got feet that kind of remind you of former quarterback Freddie Knighton.
Ooh.
He's got some wheels, I've always been a big fan of. I want my quarterback that when plays break down, take off running.
Just go.
And not just get a first down to get 20 or 30, you know.
Exactly.
I've always thought that's the worst thing for a defensive coordinator to have to contend with.
It's always the worst thing as a fan to have to contend. Unless it's your guy, then it's all right.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I guess overall here, pretty solid class. Do we see a lot of and I'll say more so the freshman types, do we see any of those guys jumping right into the mix?
Obviously, there's an opportunity at cornerback. If one of those guys proves he can do it, they'll get it. Now, the new redshirt rule where you can play them in 4 games and it not count against them, so they'll get some spot duty. Injuries last year forced them to play some guys who they really wanted to redshirt, but they couldn't. So you have to contend with that. But I think receiver might get a shot. Obviously, nobody on the offensive line. Corbett Mims has a shot to play as a freshman.
Big dude right there.
C.J. Harris is technically going to be a freshman because he got injured at JUCO, so he's getting that year back. So he'll be a freshman. I think he'll see the field a very good chance that he will,
right.
especially since he's going through spring. He's smart. He'll pick things up.
Yeah.
And then maybe the corners, we'll see what happens there, but I think you'll see a corner at least getting some playing time.
All right, but spring ball is getting going. It's that time. It's a couple of things you really want to see. I know for me personally, I want to see the quarterback battle. Obviously, that's one of the big things here.
You know, that's interesting because, you know, at the time, Logan Bonner's first 4 games, everybody was so excited about him, and he looked so good.
Dropping them.
And then Lane Hatcher comes in, and the guy goes, he had 8 games, he's 6-3 or something like that, and
yeah, had
freshman of the year. I mean, really had a good season. And I think a lot of that, I really think Keith Heckendorf, the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach, did a really good job with him. And even with that offense together.
Yeah.
I mean, they still, one thing that they're moving spring practice early for is because they want, after you get through with it, you have an 8-week cycle afterwards. And Coach Anderson, everybody on the staff says, we got to get stronger. We've got to be able to move the line of scrimmage offensively. And that's been an issue the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, when you get into a 3rd and 2 or a 3rd and 1 where you can't just shove it, you know, and pound them and say, here we come, guys, stop us.
Yeah.
Well, we did that, and they stopped us. So you got to get stronger there.
All right, so it'll be interesting to watch some of that evolution. I think who steps up at wide receiver, I think will be something to kind of look out for, too.
Well, John Adams came on.
He did, yeah. He was part of that triumvirate.
And then we have the ghost of Dahu Green. You know, will he get on the field? Will he stay healthy? I mean, at times he had an outstanding catch at Monroe, and everybody goes, wow. You know,
He's back.
He will have, and if he comes back and plays a full year and does Dahu Green things, you got 2 solid guys. Brandon Bowling, as a slot guy, catches everything that's near him.
I don't think he's got a drop in his career.
Yeah, and then you have a tight end, Reed Tyler out of Brandon, Mississippi, who really good hand, who I think will have a larger part of the offense going forward.
Oh, it's going to be fun to watch. And then defensively, obviously, you know, getting your cornerbacks in because it's wide open there. They're
going to be mainly, you saw this last year during the season, they switched from the 4-man front to the 3-man front. You're going to see a lot of more 3-man front going forward. Now, Blake wouldn't say this is what we're going to be.
Right.
But he will be it will be the main defense going forward.
All right, so there you go. So spring is springing. Basketball still dribbling, so don't forget about them.
And baseball starts Friday. So.
And baseball starts. Let's go. This is one of those times of years.
Nothing colder than college baseball games in February, I'll tell you that.
Boy, I tell you what, you know, I know everybody wants to kind of move football season up. Let's back baseball season up a little, or back a little bit. Man, it's cold for that mess.
It would be nice.
Get to like a dome up there in Jonesboro, but let's not worry about that. But so we'll get into them once we really start to, you know, see them on the diamond and all that kind of good stuff here. And obviously track and field's doing their thing too, and they've been pretty good here at
their conference meets coming up. The women may sweep. They may win indoor and outdoor, and they were young last year and won it and have a lot back. The men team, they don't really have that one stud bell cow like they've had, but they're very good overall.
Yeah, they're spread out a little more.
And they'll be there. Jim Patchell has done an outstanding job with the track program. You know, slowly building it up to the point that it's going to be a top 2 or 3 in the league every season.
Yeah, absolutely. Here and then
every chance where they have 2 seasons. Actually, they have 3 seasons.
Yeah, 3 seasons. Yeah, so tracks is all your
confusing.
thing. I know it really is. And then obviously golf. Well, I'd like to see kind of where that goes because a lot of those guys have been putting in.
They're probably a top 35 program now.
Yeah,
every year.
Legit.
And talked to Coach Hagan last week. Conference championship will be this year in El Dorado.
Yeah.
So at the I don't know the name of the course, but it's Murphy Oil money behind it.
Yeah.
And from what I've told, it is an absolutely incredible. It's the nicest course that they play on all year. And it's going to be in El Dorado. I think it's the next 2 or 3 years, but it's interesting. It's an interesting, you know. Mike likes it. He said, "Well, we get on the van and drive down there, and we don't have to worry about flying here and changing and going all these places."
Stuff.
So hopefully that'll work out. And Monroe's a little bit closer, but from what I've been told is no league team can play there during the regular
Prior,
season.
yeah.
You have to go in there.
Got to go in there
Not
cold.
that it's blind. A-State won the Duck Commander down there a couple of years ago, so they've been there.
They got an idea what's going on here. So, yeah, we're getting into that season, man. There's a lot of stuff starting to come up.
Spring is very busy.
Spring seasons are coming, and they're looking pretty good so far here. So, it'll be fun. Jeff, we appreciate you coming in here, boss.
Enjoyed it.
Where can the folks find you at?
Well, astatenation.com is the 247 website. A lot of specials on subscriptions right now. You can get one of those. I'm at Twitter. Well, we have two Twitters, at A-State Nation and then at ASU Jeff Reed. So we're out there.
He's out there.
And actually have a couple of Facebook pages too.
What?
I need to remember to
do those.
Altogether, we've got a pretty good size. We're the largest community of A-State athletics out there. So
There you go.
we're pretty easy to find one way or another.
Search them somewhere.
Call Jay Burr. He'll tell
Yeah,
you
I
how
got
to do
y'all.
it.
I got y'all. I can point y'all in the right direction here. All right. Well, so that is it for this one. We went through a lot of recruits. So, again, hopefully the spring season's looking pretty sharp. And, again, everything else starting to bubble up here to the top here. It's going to be fun to get into these things here. I'm excited here. So, for Jeff Reed.
No, I thought you
Oh,
were-
yeah, no, we'll make it not awkward here. Jeff Reed, I'm Jay Burr. We will see y'all next time.
Thank you.